Say what? Another week? Another
Back to
day.
line play. Yeah, okay, cool, ready.
Episode 35 in the mix. All right. Dudes to Dads is a podcast to help men understand and navigate the transition of being a single dude into a family man. How do we make sense of it all? Well, we probably won't be able to, but let's go ahead and have some fun trying. And we are back.
We're back.
I am Jason Kreidman.
I am Alan Bush.
And we are the Dudes to Dads podcast.
That's right.
Is that an exciting intro, or should we redo that?
We are the Dudes to Dads podcast.
You'd think I haven't done this before. No, I'm sitting up straight.
Yes.
It's been a long day, as always.
Telling me, man.
I know, but good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you as well.
And we've got a very interesting topic. No segments today.
Okay.
This is one topic, and it came about just I pulled it out of nowhere. It's just certainly not related to anything that I am involved with, or that I do, or that I,
Yeah.
This is about being critical. Oh, you laugh.
Yeah. I sense some sarcasm going on.
Yeah, just a little bit. I smell it.
I smell it in the air.
So being critical really can kill your relationship with spouse, with kids, with coworkers, with anything. And this came about, and I'll be candid, is I found myself, well, because it was pointed out to me, that I was
found it after someone pointed it.
that I was being critical.
Okay.
And that word, I remember growing up and hearing that word. It's not like, you're being so critical. Like, whether it was my family, blah, 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 I've heard that word before.
Sure.
And kind of understanding, criticism, being judgmental, that kind of stuff. So this one hits home a little bit, and I thought it was a good topic that lent itself to us talking about.
Okay.
And so I have a hypothesis about being critical and criticism. And after reading more about it, I feel like my hypothesis is pretty accurate according to what the experts say, what they would do. And the hypothesis is that the happier we become with ourselves, the less critical we are all around.
I would agree with that.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And I'm noticing that within myself. So although it was pointed out to me recently that I was being critical, I have found that I am much less critical of myself and much less critical of others. Let's call it recent. I don't know what that timeline is.
Yeah.
Because I have been feeling better about who I am and, myself, and as I've evolved and everything else. I mean,
yeah, that totally makes sense.
It's whether it's professionally, as a parent, as a husband, that kind of thing. It's the self-acceptance and those kind of things of feeling good, been eating good, taking care of myself, that kind of stuff. And I noticed that as you start to feel better, and it could just be short term,
right?
You definitely are less critical. Mm-hmm. And I was looking back and sort of, looking back at life. Mm-hmm. And I recalled a girlfriend that I had many, many years ago who never, ever said anything bad about anybody. Like, it was very noticeable because there were situations where somebody could have been mean. There was somebody who looked really strange. We all know when somebody might be wearing something that's completely inappropriate, they shouldn't be wearing, and people will comment on that, whoever you're with.
Sure.
She never, ever said anything. And it was interesting because I remembered that vividly about her. And I was like, gosh, that's a really great attribute, just to not be critical, because I remember how critical I was, not only of myself, but other people. And you can call, that goes into the realm of being judgmental, whatever. But I was so critical of myself, like where I'm at professionally. Am I really doing this right? Why am I not doing this? And beating myself up about various things in my life.
Right.
With the idea that, that obviously reflected in how I was treating other people.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. So
do you think, sorry to interrupt you, but like there's that part where, I I think it's great that someone's non-critical and non-judgmental towards other people. I think that's fantastic. But is it like blatant where it's like, oh, I didn't notice they had a third eye?
No. Not like that. But,
okay, all right.
But like some obvious things would come up and just not saying something bad about somebody. Like even if somebody else made the comment, be like, oh, well, I'm sorry that's, whatever. Like just very, very... Just I don't even know if it was conscious or accepting or whatever.
Yeah,
I mean, I mean, I will say that my wife is like that now too. I mean, she's just not critical of people.
Sure.
Very accepting, very just doesn't make those kinds of judgments, and that's why I really, that's an attribute I really like.
Sure.
And so there was a quote that from Earl Nightingale, who was kind of a famous philosopher, actually like early on did like audio cassettes and those kinds of things.
Okay.
He said, when you judge others, you do not define them, you define yourself.
Yeah.
And so that's exactly what I was talking about. It's like when you are critical, there's something going on with you because, something's bothering you to do that. And the truth is, this was another quote. And so I read this article because I was labeled that. Somebody had said like, gosh, I feel like you're being really critical of the situation and me and whatever. Criticism is an utter failure at getting positive behavioral change.
Right.
Any short-term gain you might get from it just builds resentment down the line. Mm-hmm. So the truth is that being critical typically, and especially let's say it's in a relationship, is you wanting to change behavior.
Sure.
That's one of the reasons why we're critical. So I'll give you an example. And this may be with your children too. I say any kind of relationship.
Yeah.
So if you were to say, like, you're such a good boy, but your behavior is really bad right now. And that's something that you learn, like, you're not criticizing the child.
Right.
You're criticizing the behavior, which is like, that's what you're supposed to do.
Sure.
But a small child doesn't understand, like, they don't have the thing in their brain. I think they call it this prefrontal cortex, whatever, in their brain.
Right.
To understand that is not necessarily criticism or being critical of them. You're really critical, or you're wanting a change in behavior.
Right.
So you're not saying that like they're a horrible person, but that's how the child interprets it. And we do the same thing as adults. So I started reading more about it. And, and like I said in this article, this was a Psychology Today, talking about, criticism versus feedback and the difference of the two.
Yeah.
So, like, when reading more, I was realizing that I really wasn't being critical of the person. I was actually providing feedback. Now, I may have not done it well, but an example could be you come home and the house is a mess.
Hit by hurricane.
And you say, gosh, this house is just ridiculously dirty. It's so messy. Mm-hmm. Now, my kids may interpret that and be like, oh gosh, I can never make him happy. He thinks I'm lazy, whatever. Wife, if she's the one at home thinking, oh, nothing's ever good enough. I'm lazy too. Where you've made these statements. Now, that may not be your intention.
Right.
Your intention is, I just want the house to be cleaner. I'm not saying that you're a lazy person. I'm not saying the kids, you guys are incapable of doing anything, but that's how it can be interpreted.
Yeah.
And so it's really that kind of situation is really called feedback. Mm-hmm. But the people who it's going or are around it feel like it's criticism.
Yeah.
That's what they take it in as.
Right.
So does that make sense? I mean, is that?
Yeah, I agree with that. And I'm trying to figure out, like, I kind of may have even told this story before, but the first time I ever experienced a girlfriend that didn't criticize me, not to say I'm super annoying and I get critical all the time, but I know that some people when they don't like certain things, they have to criticize the person. And it was different when I was dating this one person in Los Angeles many years ago, and she would say things that she liked about what she preferred, rather than
right.
I don't like you didn't do this. She would say, you know what I like. When people do these things.
Yeah, that's what I'm totally going to touch on.
I go, oh, all right. And I just do that. And I naturally wanted to do it because it wasn't criticism. It was like positive. You said, it was positive feedback based on what her preferences are. She goes, when people do this, I like when they do this. I'm like, oh, okay, that makes sense. And so from then on, I did it.
Right.
I don't like criticism, to be honest.
This happens a lot in the workplace.
Yeah.
Like a boss who's not necessarily conscious of being critical. Be like, you know what? That work was horrible. Like, how are we supposed to get a client when you're doing that, blah, 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 whatever.
Right.
That's not going to change that person's behavior. That's going to have the person hate the boss.
It may change the behavior.
But it's saying down the line, it's going to produce resentment.
Yeah.
It's not a positive change in behavior for the right reasons.
Right.
It is when you are critical of somebody, in like my situation, let's say that I'm coming in and saying, hey, the house is a mess. That's not going to motivate my children or my wife or whatever to be like, oh, we really want to clean the house so Jason's happy. Like, that's not going to happen.
Right.
Now, me just going and cleaning it up, that may be the solution. Or saying, hey, you know what? Let's clean this together.
Yeah.
You know what? Hey, it is a mess. Let's all clean it. Let's just sit down. Let's have a timer, whatever.
Yeah.
But I think that, that's the one thing is, criticism, you're really criticizing the person or who they are or what they're about versus like feedback. And really what we are trying to do is provide feedback, but it's taken as criticism.
For sure.
And it's being critical, and it's not an attractive thing.
Yeah.
So that's why I said I find myself doing it a lot less, still falling into the trap of being critical in some situation. But I could see, especially even like with my kids, how me commenting that their room is a mess doesn't help the situation at all.
Right.
It's not going to motivate them to clean it.
Yeah.
It's going to be different by saying, hey, what can we do to clean this?
Yeah.
Hey, can I help you? Blah, blah, blah. Cooperative.
I prefer if I could see the floor.
Right. And that's really, though, a lesson in communication. I mean, it's how you say it. And that's what the other thing we're talking about. It's really the tone.
Yeah.
It's how you say it, not what you say.
Yeah. I think that's a huge part of it, is the tone of how you say things really makes the huge difference between someone taking it the wrong way and someone kind of going, oh, okay, I get it. I apologize or whatever.
Yeah. And so I don't know if it takes a pause. I don't know what the exact, the answer is. They provided some tips in the article.
Sing it.
Well,
hey, your room's a mess.
No, but they provided like a little bit of an example or some things that, are better ways to provide, quote, the feedback versus being positive. So since one of them is, focus on how the person can improve, not what's wrong. And that's exactly what you said that person said to you.
Sure.
Here's what I really like.
Right.
What would be great? Hey, if we could clean our room, that would be great. Yeah. Versus me coming down and saying like, why is your room never clean? You can't keep, regardless of what you're saying in that situation, the kid hears I'm a mess.
I find myself doing this even in the car. If someone like cuts me off, I go, hey, could you not do that, please? Thank you. Or I say something similar. Like in my head, I go, hey, that'd be great if you didn't pull in front of me like that. That'd be really awesome.
Very positive.
Yeah, it's very positive. And I just keep myself lightened up that way instead of getting mad.
Well, totally. But it is, you're focusing on the positive.
Yeah.
What, and you remember we talked about this too with children especially. You're supposed to say what to do, not what not to do.
Yeah.
So when the child is running, you don't say don't run.
Yeah.
You say walk.
Right.
You're providing the instruction on what to do. So, hey, let's clean the room. Not, why is this room so messy?
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
I told you also, this is another kind of callback, but my ex-roommate would, if I'm talking, we get excited to be talking, I saw her talking really loud, and he goes, okay. That just makes me shut up. Sorry. I didn't realize I was yelling, and that's all he had to say. He goes, okay.
Got it. Right. You can say that to me sometimes as I yell on the microphone. That's why it's, technically savvy. You're able to adjust the levels. Just turn it down a little bit. People don't realize how loud I actually am. So the second thing was focus on the behavior we'd like to see, not the personality of your partner or child.
Yeah, that's
so that's which too. Is still like what I just said about that your behavior's being bad, but you're not bad.
Yeah,
it's the behavior or what it is that you're trying to look at, not But in that sense, you're still not being positive.
No, I agree. It's weird. It's hard to pull back on that. And I'm not saying I totally agree with that statement. It's just, it's difficult, especially when you're really frustrated and upset. Mm-hmm. And you can even say, though, literally, like you said, it's still negative, but it's like still saying the words like, look, it's not you. I don't hate you. I love you.
Right.
But this behavior is not something I'm a big fan of.
Yeah.
And so even saying that, like you said, it could be negative, but it's something.
Well, but even saying that, like, that's what I think they're getting at is like, instead of saying, you know what, I love you, but your behavior is not, instead of even going there, like I had a situation with my daughter where I said, listen, I mean, you are sweet. You're nice. You have all these wonderful things. What is it that causes you to talk mean sometimes? Mm-hmm. That's a whole different approach to being like, stop yelling, stop getting upset. It's like,
shut your face.
Yeah, you're attacking the child in a sense versus like, hey, what's going on?
Yeah.
And it's the same thing. I mean, you're trying to get the same result, which is, I don't want that behavior.
Yeah.
But if you're trying to understand it or whatever and, focusing on that. So that actually just happened to me recently where, she was getting really upset and snapping back and like talking back, in that way. And that I waited, not at the situation, but I waited later in the evening and when she was calm and then just had that conversation.
Yeah.
And she had some good, she's still understanding like her feelings and how to express that, but still saying like, well, I don't know. It's something, even though she's 5. But yeah, I can't wait till they're teenagers. I'm going to need some help out there.
If we're still doing the show, it's
email us podcast@dudesadads.com and let me know what I need to do. For those experts out there. Yeah. So we're in this together, guys.
Yeah, exactly. Help each other out.
The third thing was sincerely offer help. That's something too. Just like I said, like, hey, let's do this together.
Yeah.
Or, hey, I can help you. And I've done that too. Or like, I mean, because I'd say probably the number one area for me where I am critical at home is the cleaning. Mm-hmm. And I do notice that I am like that. Mm-hmm. And so it's my choice then, because it bothers me. Mm-hmm. It doesn't bother a lot of other people.
Right.
So my options are either, let it go.
Right.
I need to clean it up.
Right.
Because it bothers me.
Yeah.
Or do it together.
Yeah.
And so I often do that. I would say like, hey, come on, we'll clean up the playroom together, with the kids.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's not my playroom, it's your playroom, but I'm going to help you.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't say that, but sometimes I do.
Right. Lay a guilt trip on them.
I'm still learning, can't be perfect all the time. Certainly not. And then, so the number 4 was respect his or her view, even if you don't agree.
Yes.
So that's an interesting one too.
Yeah. And I learned that kind of as time went on too.
Because that's why we're critical, is we don't necessarily, we don't agree with the person's perspective or their view on it. And we're like, no, our view is the right one.
Usually my criticism of people revolves around them not respecting my difference of opinion. They just
I see that,
that bothers the heck out of me. It's the only thing I can't deal with. If someone doesn't respect that I disagree or maybe don't see things the way they see them and they just don't care. And
that ruffles your feathers.
It ruffles my feathers a bit. And then I start squawking.
Makes sense.
That's going to be my next segment. I'm just squawk at them.
Well, isn't there a squawk box? Isn't that it's a TV thing?
Right.
Yeah. And then the last thing was, resist the urge to punish or withdraw affection if he or she doesn't do what you want.
Yeah.
Find a solution that works for both. So like, the idea that you're not affectionate or you're just say, well, I'm not going to help, I'm not going to be close to you as a result of that. I mean, you're not maybe not saying it, but you're not being as nice. That's not going to work.
Yeah.
It's about that mutual respect and finding that solution that's going to work for both of you. Mm-hmm. That's what's important. So, I felt like this episode was really important because I think in general, people are critical. And I'm saying that's why I'm including myself in this because it's something that I feel like has evolved. But even though I felt like I've gotten better at it, I was called out on it.
Yeah, yeah.
I was called out on it. And I noticed it, and I was like, "Whoa!" I was totally being critical. I mean, whether it was to my kids or to my wife or whatever.
Right.
But also then realizing and saying, you know what? I can see how my criticalness, is that a word?
Yeah, sure.
Is related often to how I'm feeling.
Yeah, about yourself.
Yeah.
That was a really good point that you brought up earlier, too, is that how you feel about yourself. Who was it that said that?
Earl Nightingale.
Earl Nightingale. That how you feel about yourself is generally how you treat others. Is that how?
Well, it says when you judge others,
Yeah.
you do not define them, you define yourself.
Well, I guess it was what you said then.
I was the smart one.
I should be quoting you. That it's
No, I said my hypothesis. That's what it
gotcha.
was.
Yeah.
The happier we become with ourselves,
Yeah.
the less critical we are all around.
Right. And I agree with that because I felt a definite shift in my own personal paradigm the same way you just mentioned that you did. Is that when I was happier with the things, the direction my life was going, I was getting better finances, but it wasn't about the money. It was just being more comfortable, being able to not,
self-acceptance.
Self-acceptance of certain things. That was another thing about just kind of getting older and understanding myself and then realizing that, hey, not everything's my fault, and nor I should also accept the things that are my fault and try to fix them.
Right.
And when I accepted that, then I stopped looking at others with this weird critical eye that I had.
Yeah.
And I'm like, let them do what they want, unless they're getting in my way and forcing me out of something or blocking my way from getting somewhere,
right.
Then I don't really have any reason to criticize anybody. They have their life, I have mine. Occasionally I might joke at somebody or, laugh at somebody with 3 eyes or whatever it is. But for the most part, I became a lot more accepting than I thought, because I always thought I was accepting about everybody, but then I realized I was critical, especially towards other people that I thought they weren't doing the right thing, and maybe picking on people for their belief systems or just small things, and then I'm like, why am I doing that? And when other people are doing it with each other, I'm like, why are they bickering? I don't understand this.
Yeah, and you notice now, when you're around people who are that way, they're not desirable to be around.
I know, yeah.
When you start thinking about it and going, well, you don't need to say that.
Yeah.
Like,
I guess it's okay if you have the same hates.
Yeah.
But like when you stop doing that.
Well, I'll give you an example. Like
away.
I was recently on vacation. There were so many opportunities to say stuff. We're at a pool area. There's a lot of opportunity to like people from different areas.
You should not be wearing that.
Yeah, baiting. Whatever. But I found myself not really caring. It wasn't.
Yeah.
But in the past, I think I would have thought more about that.
I think so, yeah.
And part of it just being like, it doesn't matter. Like, I'm not worried about everybody else.
Yeah, right.
Like,
and then
I was concentrating on my kids.
And then exactly. And then you become more confident in yourself, so you're not worried about what other people think of you,
right.
Even if they are critical.
Right.
If they're critical towards you, you're like, whatever.
Yeah, and I think when I was younger, obviously caring more about what other people had felt, and even physically being very concerned with, I work out and I diet and maintain whatever. So it's not like I don't care.
Right.
But doing it a little bit more internally and for myself versus the external benefits of that,
right? Yeah.
Or what that meant, what that means to the outside world.
It started with vanity, but it ended up being self-actualization.
No, it's still vanity. I don't get up at 4:40 in the morning just for health. Right. Yeah. It's so actually, that's a line on a workout video. It's like, why do we do this? And the guy says, because I want to look good.
Yeah.
It's
nothing wrong with a little vanity.
No, but part of it is that, but you want to feel good, and you do that, and so. When you do feel good about what's going on. And you know what, to be honest, I think the podcast too and the meetups and stuff have helped with a lot of that, because you get to talk about the stuff that's bothering you.
Yeah.
You get to realize that there's other people that are going through the same stuff. When you live in a vacuum and you're by yourself, you don't have that opportunity.
Good point.
And so a lot of it has been like, wow, I'm going through the same stuff as all these other guys.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. In fact, we just had a meetup the other day. And one of the guys came in, and he hadn't been there for a while, and he's like talking about his situation. He goes like, I just feel like I'm going crazy with this, know? And I was like, whoa, you're normal. And I look around the room. I was like, how many other guys have felt the same situation? And like almost all of them raised their hand. It was like, you're not alone, dude.
Yeah.
We are going through the same stuff, but that he thought he was a freak, or that like he was unique,
right?
Because of the stuff he was going through, and it's like that's just not the case.
Yeah.
So
that's funny.
So with that, the criticism episode, as we would call it,
hypercritical episode.
Yeah, the hypercritical episode. Just wanted to touch on that topic.
Yeah, I think it's a great one.
And see, and for feedback, email us podcast@dudestodads.com.
That's right.
On Twitter. @dudestodads.
And go to iTunes and Stitcher and vote for us and give us some feedback, even if it's just to say hi.
That's true. And people from the other countries continue to listen.
Yeah, that's great.
It's awesome.
I love that we have internationals.
We're getting some international listeners. I think on the last episode I had mentioned people from all over the world are starting to listen. Japan, and that's cool. Yeah.
Norway.
Cambodia.
Crazy.
We've got all kinds of cool areas. And it's not just like one person. It's we're seeing multiple episodes and multiple people come.
That's great.
So, yeah, it's pretty cool. So with that, thank you, Alan, for another episode.
Absolutely.
And we will see you next time.
See you next time. Bye.